So today is Good Friday, and we've arrived along our journey through Lent and Holy Week to the foot of the cross. There are various traditions that take place on Good Friday which won't be happening in quite the same way this year. No walks of witness through the streets. But creatively, Christians have taken to acts of witness at our windows instead. And while some will be fasting and praying today, others may be enjoying hot cross buns. Online, there are many and various opportunities to join in worship as we enter into the story. This is a day when we create the hill of Calvary, the stark and harrowing reality of the crucifixion of Christ. In the Eastern tradition, it's traditional on Good Friday for a mournful bell to toll all day long. When night comes, a funeral bier passes through the square covered in flowers, representing the dead Christ. And in the darkness, candles are carried and a sense of mourning is felt by all who participate. Worship and prayer is sombre and reflective today, focusing on the cross as we give space and silence to contemplate and encounter our crucified Lord. We recall how few remained with Christ to the bitter end at the foot of the cross, how he was mocked and spat upon, the suffering of his mother, and the soldiers preoccupied with casting lots for his clothes as people indifferently pass by. We enter the darkness and we confront the human capacity to do evil. All our worship during these holy days is full of the enactment of signs and messages of profound meaning and truth, speaking of God's self-emptying, of God's persistent, faithful commitment to us, the disclosure of the truth about God, signs and messages that speak of an indestructible, enduring and costly love. William Van Stone, who wrote the spiritual classic Love's Endeavour, Love's Expense, suggests that like the first disciples, we may find ourselves standing a little distance away, because to draw near is a difficult and fearful thing to do. It confronts us with the reality of ourselves and with the extraordinary passion of God for the world. We stand afar off because some things are simply too hard to bear close up and in the thick of it. And yet, the story of the Incarnation is all about God with us. God who is prepared to be right in amongst us, utterly involved in the messy business of our world. At the foot of the cross, we confront the rejection of pure love and ultimate goodness. We gaze upon an innocent, holy, compassionate man. We wonder at how the cruelty, violence and hatred that is hurled at Christ is met with forgiveness. And whilst humankind chose at Calvary to turn away from God, to reject all that Christ offered, God on the cross demonstrates that he never gives up on us. Even as they nailed Christ to the cross, he prayed, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they are doing." The power of the cross and the message of the cross transforms our own Good Friday moments. Jesus knows our afflictions. He has carried the weight of sin and suffering, and whilst we may find it difficult to draw too close to the reality of his agony and humiliation, we know that in our hours of darkness and fear, he is with us, with his fierce and faithful love. When we are racked with guilt or shame, we can know through the cross forgiveness and restoration. The cross declares, "This is how much I love you." A love that has no end, that continues to embrace us with compassion and to forgive us when we fail. Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote from the concentration camp from which he was taken to his own death, "Only a suffering God can help." This Good Friday, the world is suffering together as a result of this devastating virus. And like the women at the foot of the cross, our medics and frontline staff have demonstrated the courage and faithfulness to us all in drawing close, confronting the chaos and suffering, and dealing with death. In the cross, God declares the depth of his compassion towards the world, a suffering God who is with us, fiercely loving us, no matter what. It echoes the words from John 13, verse 1. When Jesus knew that his hour had come, that he should depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. In these difficult days ahead, may God give us the grace and courage to witness to the cross in our own acts of costly love and sacrifice, of forgiveness and generosity for the sake of the world, giving thanks to Christ, who for our sake gave up his life, loving us to the end. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.